Welcome back students, welcome to the class once more. So today we will going to discuss the next property of the periodic table, that is the general tendency, metal non-metal properties. Capability of giving electron is called metallic property and capability of getting electron is called non-metallic property of the element. Okay, now the extreme left, this extreme left portion is most non-metallic, and that extreme right portion, that is the most metallic. Are you sure about that? Moving in period from left to right, metallic property, I am repeating once more, left to right. If you move left to right, what happens? Non-metallic properties increases. I am repeating once more, moving left to right in a period, this is written wrong here. Now what can you observe here, that if you move left to right in a period, what will happen? On moving left to right in the period, I am repeating once more, left to right in the period, what will happen? Non-metallic property increases. What is that? Non-metallic property increases. If you go from lithium to beryllium, then beryllium to boron, then boron to carbon, then carbon to nitrogen, then nitrogen to oxygen, then oxygen to fluorine. So here you can see what will happen. Non-metallic property increases. Non-metallic property in tendency to accept electron increases. In a group of metals, like from moving top to bottom. If you move from top to bottom, what will happen? Top to bottom, what will happen? Metallic properties of the element in a group of non-metals, these are non-metals, P block. In a group of non-metals, P block are non-metallic group. From top to bottom, non-metal property decreases. Non-metal properties what decreases, you have to understand that. Sure about that? Because these are very, very simple things you have to memorize in your mind. Now the question has been asked on X, Y, Z and T. Now if you look at that very carefully, what you are observing, X and Y belongs to the alkali metal series. So X is sodium, Y is what? Potassium, Z is oxygen and T is sulfur. Now metal property increases from right to left and top to bottom. If you go right to left, metallic property increases, and left to right non-metallic. So Y is the most metallic element is a false statement. Okay, sure about that or not? So these things you have to memorize in your mind. So in this scenario, what you will observe, X is the X and Y is what? X and Y. Metallic property, if you move down, will increase. So X and Y are metallic. Z and T are what? Z and T are non-metallic. Z is more non-metallic than T, and Y is more metallic than X. Okay, sure about that? Now if you look at the various property, how would you choose? electron gain enthalpy. That is the electron gain enthalpy. So it will increase from left to right in a period. So left to right in a period, electron gain enthalpy increases. Electron gain enthalpy increases. Go from left to right in a period. If you move left to right in a period also, ionization enthalpy increases. Look at that. Ionization enthalpy increases left to right in a period. Electronegativity increases if you move left to right. So all is what? Left to right in a period. So in a period, electron gain enthalpy increases, ionization enthalpy increases, electronegativity increases. So I am repeating once more. In a period, electron gain enthalpy increases, ionization enthalpy increases, electronegativity increases. But what will happen here? All these property will move. If we move down, will decrease. Okay, if we move bottom to top, bottom to the top, again these will increase. Bottom to top also, what will happen? Bottom to top also, what will happen? Bottom to top also, you will observe what? An increase in these properties. It means reverse will what? From top to bottom there would be decrease. I am repeating once more. In a period left to right, if you move, electron gain enthalpy, ionization enthalpy and electronegativity increase. If you move top to bottom, it will decrease all these three properties. So bottom to top again increase. Are you sure? Atomic radii also increases if you move top to bottom in a group. Atomic radius also increases if we move right to left. So left to right will be reverse order. Non-metallic vector increases if we move diagonally from left to right. And metallic vector increases if we move right to left diagonally. So these properties must be in your mind always. Now next thing is about the valence electrons. That valence means outermost electrons. So since we know that periodic classification depends upon the number of valence electron in the shell, that's how the various elements are placed in various groups. So you can say that chemical properties depends upon the valence electrons. Valence electrons are the outermost electrons that are involved in bonding and most other chemical changes that occurs in that particular element. So there should be rules to define the valence electrons. And what are the rules? In outermost energy level, that they should present in the outermost energy levels. For main group means S and P. Representative मतलब S and P elements, electrons in field D or F orbitals are not valence electrons. So in case of representative element, D and F should not be taken as valence electron. I am repeating once more. In case of S block and P block elements, the electron present in D and F sublevels are not taken as valence electrons. Okay, similarly, for transition metals, electrons in full F shells are not taken as valence electron. Only what? N-1D and Ns are taken. Similarly, in case of S group elements, the valence Ns is taken as valence electron. In case of P block elements, the valence Np and Ns electron are taken as the valence electron. Are you sure about that? Clear? Similarly, in case of transition elements n-1d and ns electron are taken as valence electron. I think we have discussed that particular point in our second lecture, that is the properties of the various groups. Many chemical properties depends upon valence electrons. Okay, are you sure about that? So I am repeating once more to you, like phosphorus is given to you. Now in case of phosphorus, configuration is NS2, 2S2, 2P6, 3S2 and 3P3. This is taken as neon, that is noble gas. So these two groups, these two orbitals, that is S and P, they are taken as what? They are taken as valence electrons. Now remember that for main group representative elements of S and P world, electrons in field D and P are not taken as what? Are not taken as valence electron. Look at what they are saying. In arsenic also, you have 4s2, 3d10, 4p3. Now 3d10 should not be taken as valence electron. In that case, in arsenic, what is valence configuration should be taken as? 4s2, 4p3. 3d electron should not be taken as the valence electron. I am repeating once more. In S block and P block element, the filled D and F orbitals are not taken as what? Not taken as the valence electron. Similarly, in iodine also, the valence configuration is what? Krypton, that is 36, 5s2, 4d10, 5p5. 4d10 should not be taken as, I am repeating once more, 4d10 in iodine should not be taken as valence electron. Similarly, in tantalum, what happens? It is krypton, 4s2, 4f, 14, 5d3. The filled 4f orbital should not be taken as, I already told you, n-1d and ns electron. n-1d is 5d and 6s. So n is 6, n-1 is 5. So in tantalum also, what can happen? Only the valence 5d and 6s are taken as what? Are taken as the valence shell electrons. 4f electrons are not taken as valence electron. Similarly, in case of zinc, what happens? 4s2, 3d10. It again satisfy n-1d, ns. So 4s2, 3d10. Okay. Here it is completely written there. Valence electrons are taken in blue. So don't take these. I underline with the red line and written with the black pen that they should not be what? They should not be taken as what? Not be taken as the valence electrons. Now let's take a difference between metals and non-metals. Now in case of metals, what you can find? They have a shiny luster, various colors. Most of them are silvery. The non-metal solids are malleable and ductile. They are excellent conductor of heat and electricity. Most metal oxides are ionic solid which are basic in nature. And all metals tend to form ions in the aqueous medium. Otherwise, what will happen? Non-metals do not have a luster, or solids are usually brittle. Some are hard, some are soft. The hard ones are hardest one actually, like diamond and boron. Poor conductors of heat and electricity, except that of graphite. Graphite is an excellent conductor of electricity. Most non-metal oxides are able to form what? Are able to form acidic solution. Okay, and when they are dissolved in aqueous solution, they form either anion or oxyanions. They form either, that is very, very important. Okay, that is PO4 3 negative, carbonate ion, sulfate ion, nitrite ion, nitrate ion. These are what? Oxyanions are there. What they are called as? Oxyanions. You have to memorize that, very, very important. And in case of some halogens, you will find that they are able to form in aqueous medium, both of them, anion as well as oxyanion. Okay, like when chlorine dissolved in water, you will have formation of chloride ion as well as hypochlorous ion. Like if you take chlorine dissolved in water, it is a non-metal, it will have chloride as well as hypochlorous ion. So both are there. Okay? So similarly what happens? Similarly happens in case of bromine also. So there are many cases where what happens, anions and oxyanions both are formed. Next thing is very, very important, that is the periodicity of the some simple compound. Oxygen forms compound oxides with almost all elements except a few rare gases. This is reason why oxygen was used as a standard for atomic masses. When the procedure for determining the atomic mass had not yet been established, it was convenient and dependable way to use equivalent, that is the amount of oxygen that react with the substance to form the compound. For example, in case of oxygen, that amount is 8. 8 is the equivalent mass of oxygen. So if oxygen's 8 gram react with Y gram of the element, then Y gram is the equivalent mass of that substance. Okay, sure about that. But nowadays oxides properties are mainly used to compare the properties of the elements. Most heat of formation of oxides, that is the heat of reaction in which a simple element body reacts with oxygen, are large or negative. That when an element reacts with oxygen, lot of heat is liberated, and the released heat is known as what? Exothermic reaction, the reaction in which heat is being released. This indicates that there is at least one stable oxide for most of the elements. Okay, remember that one more point here also. Fluorine is the only element which does not form oxide. This is oxygen. What is this compound? This compound is fluoride. These are fluorides. These are not what? These are not oxides. So fluorine is the only element with which oxygen does not form oxide. With all other elements it forms oxide. Carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, chlorine, okay, with sodium, with iron, with all other elements you will have formation of oxide. But only with fluorine you have fluorides. So if someone asks you with which element it does not form oxide, answer is fluorine. The reason being that fluorine is more electronegative than oxygen, so it is able to form fluorides. Now various heat of reaction of various substances are given to you. Now you can see that here in with case of fluorine and nitrogen, the value of delta H is positive. The value of delta H is positive. These are the two elements with fluorine and nitrogen. You will say that enthalpy of combustion of, you can say, is positive, endothermic. In all other elements, delta H value is negative. Delta H is called heat of the reaction at constant pressure. or called as enthalpy. It is called as what? Enthalpy. So you can see here that okay, all of the values are given in kilocalorie per mole. So with lithium and magnesium, it releases the highest amount of heat. With beryllium, aluminium also, very large amount of heat is released. With silicon, phosphorus, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, in all of the cases, what happens? A lot. Negative sign means what? Negative sign means a lot of heat is being released. Lot of heat is being released here in this case. Are you getting that or not? So I am repeating once more. Look at these negative values. Huge negative values are there. So with most of the metals and non-metals, it forms oxide in which a tremendous amount of heat is being released. Are you sure about that? Sure. Now the reaction between the oxide and the water generally have a hydroxy group. That will be discussed later on. As many oxides are acidic even if they do not have any hydrogen. In the case of reaction product is acidic. Now what happens when you take non-metals? When you take non-metals react with oxygen, then you have formation of acidic oxides. Like you have Cl2O3, Cl2O7, NO2, N2O3, N2O5, P2O3, P2O5, SO2, SO3. All these non-metallic oxides are what? They are acidic oxide. Why? Because when they dissolve in water, they tend to form acids. Are you okay? If you take any acid. You take here SO3 dissolved in water. What you will get? H2SO4. So all these oxides, when dissolved in water, produces acids. So they are called as what? They are called as acidic oxide. Similarly, what happens? Metal oxides are taken. When metal oxides are taken, these metal oxide, when dissolved in water, they produce you hydroxide. So a substance which produces hydroxyl ion in water, in aqueous medium, is called base, and the substance which produces H plus ion in aqueous medium, it is called acid. This is base. So the compound which when dissolved in aqueous medium produces hydroxyl ion. Very, very simple term that is. That is called a base. If you produce OH negative ion, it is called a base. If the oxide when dissolved in water produces what? H plus. The oxide is called what? Acidic in nature. Simple things you have to learn. So the hydrogen of the hydroxy group tend to be dissociated as protons. I told you already that if you have taken CO2, if you taken CO2 dissolved in water, it will give you carbonic acid, which will give you what? Which will give you H plus. So these substances are what? When dissolved in water, they produce what? Oxyacids. Are you getting that or not? Similarly, when metal oxides are dissolved in water, they produce hydroxide. Oxides of alkaline metals, alkaline earth metals are more or less soluble in water and exhibit basicity, that is basic properties. And basic property I am repeating once more. Basic property increases down the group. Are you sure about that? That is very, very important. Similarly, there are elements whose oxides are amphoteric in nature. Whose oxides are what? Amphoteric in nature. Aluminium oxide is one such example. Oxides of aluminium, oxides of lead, oxides of tin. These are all but amphoteric oxide. These are very, very important. I am repeating once more. Oxides of zinc, oxides of lead, oxides of tin, okay, oxides of germanium. They are what? They are typical amphoteric oxides. Al2O3 is one such example also. So these substances react with both acid as well as with the bases. Okay, when react with acid and they react with base. So an oxide which can react with both acid and base is called as amphoteric. I am repeating once more. A substance which can react with both acid and base is called as amphoteric. Al2O3, zinc oxide, lead oxide, tin oxide and germanium oxides are example of simpler amphoteric oxides. Most of the oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature. Most of the oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature. Their strength increases going from left to right across the period. Okay. So this you have to memorize. I am repeating once more. Most of the oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature and strength of the acid increases going from left to right in a period. Like oxides of CO2 is less acidic than oxides of nitrogen, which is less acidic than oxides of what? Sulfur, that is less oxide than oxides of chlorine. Are you sure about that? Similarly, there are certain oxides which are neutral, which are what? Neutral in nature. Like you have carbon monoxide or you have nitrous oxide. This is nitrous oxide, this is carbon monoxide. So nitrous oxide and carbon monoxide are the two neutral oxides. They are neither acidic nor basic. I am repeating once more. CO and NO. Memorize that. CO and NO both are neutral oxide. Similarly, that is very, very important. All metal oxides are basic in nature. But that is very, very important. I am writing in. There are two oxides. They are Mn2O7 and CrO3. These are metallic oxide but acidic in nature. I am repeating once more. These are metallic oxide. These are but metallic oxide, but the exceptional cases. Mn2O7 and CrO3. Mn2O7 and CrO3 are the only two metallic oxide which are what? Acidic in nature. Similarly, all non-metal oxides are acidic in nature except that of carbon monoxide and NO. Carbon monoxide and NO both are neutral oxide. Both are what? Neutral oxide. Acid may be weak or base may be weak, that is different, but acid means acid. Okay? Are you sure about that? So similarly, what happens? Even silicon dioxide sometimes what shows amphoteric nature. So silicon, I am repeating once more. Silicon dioxide react with NaOH to give you sodium silicate. Sodium silicate is what? Normal glass. Okay. Carbon dioxide is a weak acid. Now we do not take into consideration weak or strong acids. Carbon dioxide dissolved in water be taken as aerated drinks like all Coke, Pepsi, Limca all contains what? CO2 dissolved in water. CO2 dissolved in water. Similarly, in case of acids also, oxides also, sorry, as the oxidation state increases, the acidic strength also increases. Like SO3 is more acidic than SO2. N2O5 more acidic than NO2. Okay, I haven't teach you till now oxidation state, but memorize that higher the oxidation state, higher the oxidation state, more will be the acidic strength of the oxide. So repeating once more, in contrast, many oxides of group 15 and 16 are soluble in water, like SO3 and P4O10. It is the dimer of P2O5. Since they react with water to give protons, for these elements there are several oxides correspond to different oxidation state. These two oxides of sulfur with the number +4 and +6. I told you already that sulfur dioxide has in +4 state and sulfur trioxide in +6 state. Oxygen got state of -2 actually, so you can easily find the state. Like oxygen has state of -2, so it becomes +4. Oxygen has state of -2, so it got +5. You just take the multiple of oxygen and divide by the number of atoms, you will get the oxygen state. Simpler. Now here you can see easily that what is happening. Cl2 here in +1 state. Okay. Cl2O3 is in +3 state. Cl2O5 chlorine +5 state. Cl2O7 +7 state. What is happening? As the oxidation number increasing, acidic strength increasing. As the oxidation number increasing, acidic strength is increasing. Are you sure about that? Clearly understood now? Similarly, I am repeating once more. P2O3, it may be taken as P4O6. Here phosphorus in +3 state is weaker acidic than P2O5, or it is taken as P4O10, that is in +5 state. So phosphorus pentoxide is better oxide, acidic oxide than P2O3. So memorize these things, simple things. So when an element has more than one oxide, the oxide with the higher oxidation number have the larger acidity than those with the lower oxidation number. For SO2, it is a weak acid, but SO3, it is a strong acid. So SO2 forms what? Sulfurous acid. SO3 forms what? Sulfuric acid. So the strength of sulfuric acid is more than sulfurous acid. Are you getting that or not? Similarly, if you see that acidity and basicity of the main group element, here you can easily see that. What is written there? Basicity increases as we move down the group. Basicity increases as we move down the group. I am repeating once more. Basic strength increases as we move down the group. Similarly, acidic strength increases as we move left to right. As we move left to right, you have to memorize these things. Are you getting that or not? Remember that. Are you sure? Very much sure. Similarly, in case of hydroxide also, like in hydroxide also, if you move down the group, basic strength increases. If you move down the group, what will happen? Lithium hydroxide, NOH, then you have KOH, then you have RbOH, rubidium, then you have cesium hydroxide. So basic strength increases down the group. Basic strength increases down the group in alkali metal. Similarly, in case of group 17, hydride, HF, weaker acid than HCl, weaker acid than HBr, weaker acid than HI. So hydrides, acidic strength increases down the group. In group 17, I am repeating once more, acidic strength of hydrides increases down the group. Similarly, in case of group 16, what you observe, water is neutral, but as you move down the group, what will happen? As you move down the group, acidic strength increases. Hydrides, what is that? In case of hydrides, acidic strength increases as you move down the group. Group 15 hydrides are not acidic, they are basic in nature. So, if acidic strength increases down the group, what will happen? Basic strength decreases down the group. So what will happen? In basic strength, tendency to give OH negative when dissolved in water. NH3 is more basic than phosphine, more basic than arsenine, more basic than stibine, like that. Stibine. So these are what? So basic strength of the hydride decreases down the group, while acidic strength of the hydride increases. I am repeating once more, increases. Acidic strength in case of hydrides, acidic strength increases down the group, and basic strength decreases down the group. Are you sure about that? Similarly, what can you do? You can find out the formula of hydrides and oxides by exchanging the valency. Like in group 1, what can happen? In case of what? In case of group 1, what you have observed? Okay, lithium has valency of 1, hydride has also valency of 1. So both will interchange. Lithium hydride. But look at that. In case of what? In case of carbon, valency is 4. In case of hydrogen, it is 1. So you exchange that. Methane, then you have silane, like that. Nitrogen and hydrogen. Nitrogen has valency of 3. It is equal to 1. So what is the formula? NH3. In oxygen, valency is 2. So answer comes out to be 1. That is H2O. In halogens, valency is 1. Hydrogen also valency 1. So exchange it. Answer is HF. Are you getting? So similarly, in case of oxides also, these are variable valencies. Nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic. Okay. Even tin and lead also, not written here. Tin and lead also show variability. Okay. So you can form the lower member of the, remember that lower member of P block show variable oxygen state. I am repeating once more. Lower member of P block shows variable oxygen state. Actually all of them, but if lower members are there, they are more stable in lower state. So please go through these things very, very, you can say, constructive manner. Now remember that also, that chlorine and chlorine, it forms very strong acid. Sulfur, phosphorus forms strong very acid. Al2O3 is the amphoteric oxide. Phosphorus also forms moderately acidic. Silicon is also weakly acidic. MgO is weakly basic, and N2O is strong base. So you can say that alkali metal oxide alkali metal oxides are more basic than alkali metal oxides. Alkali metal oxides and alkali metal oxides are more basic than what? D and F block oxides. This is about basic strength order. So alkali metal oxides forms more basic oxide than alkaline earth metals. Then alkaline earth metals. And they are even stronger than the D and F block oxides. And these are the various values of Pauling scale of electronegativity. Here you can easily say that fluorine is the most electronegative and cesium is the least electronegative. Okay, and the encircled values must be known to you. These values must be known to you because they will helpful in solving many problems. Okay, so memorize these values so that you are able to understand what is going to happen.